As a kid, I couldn't stand my grandfather's constant lectures, his voice cutting through the carefree joy of my childhood games like a dull blade. His gray beard, long and wise, bobbed as he spoke, trying to drill lessons into my head that felt like chores. I'd rather have been chasing fireflies or building forts than listening to his endless advice about how to live life. "The world's tough out there," he'd say, his eyes sharp with urgency, scribbling in that worn leather diary of his. He was always trying to simplify the chaos of life for me, as if his words could shield me from the storms he knew were coming. Back then I didn't get it. I thought he was just an old man out of touch, stealing my fun. It wasn't until he was gone and the harsh realities of the world hit me like a freight train that I opened that diary and saw the truth. His words weren't chains. They were a map, drawn by a man who'd walked the path and wanted me to avoid its pitfalls. My grandfather wasn't just some nagging elder. He was the town's sage, a man whose wisdom was sought by everyone, from shopkeepers to mayors, all drawn to the quiet strength in his gaze and the weight of his words. He wanted me to learn early, to live boldly, to make my life a story worth telling. And now, through my YouTube channel, WisdomWavesAura, I'm sharing that wisdom with you, polished to shine bright and light your way. Life, he'd say, is like a book. Some chapters make your heart soar, others leave you in tears, but every single one matters to the story. Skip a page, and you miss the point. He'd sit me down, his voice steady, and tell me to learn practical things, like how to change a flat tire. "You never know when you'll be stuck on a lonely road," he'd say, his hands calloused from years of fixing things himself. That lesson stuck with me, and now on WisdomWavesAura I share tips like these, not just car repairs, but life repairs, the kind that keep you moving forward when the road gets rough. He taught me that time is the real treasure. If you don't value your own hours, don't expect others to. I used to waste days chasing distractions, but Grandpa's voice echoes in my head. Spend your time like it's gold, because it is. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about how to prioritize what matters, how to carve out moments for growth and joy, because wasting time is like burning money you can't earn back. Strength, he said, isn't always loud. The strongest people fight, battles no one sees, quiet struggles that forge unbreakable spirits. I learned this the hard way, facing setbacks that felt like punches to the gut. But Grandpa's diary reminded me that pain today builds strength tomorrow. Every scar is a lesson, every wound a chance to grow wiser. I share stories like these on WisdomWavesAura, showing how life's toughest moments can become your greatest assets if you let them. He was adamant about owning your story. "Don't let anyone else hold the pen," he'd say, his voice firm. Life's too short to let others write your chapters. That's why on WisdomWavesAura, I encourage everyone to take control, to make choices that reflect who they are, not who the world wants them to be. It's about living authentically, even when it's hard. Grandpa was big on health, too. "Don't skip those checkups," he'd warn, pointing out that neglecting your body is like ignoring a ticking time bomb. I didn't listen as a kid, but now I see the wisdom in it. On WisdomWavesAura, I remind my audience to prioritize their health, mental and physical, because you can't chase dreams if you're running on empty. He taught me self-compassion, too. "We're all human," he'd say with a gentle smile. "Mistakes are part of the deal." It took years to understand that beating myself up over failures was pointless. On WisdomWavesAura, I share how to forgive yourself, to see mistakes as stepping stones, not roadblocks. Time, he promised, heals almost everything. Give it space, and the hurt fades. I've seen it happen, and I talk about it on my channel, helping others navigate their own healing journeys. Laughter and sleep, Grandpa swore, were the best medicines. "A good laugh and a long nap can fix just about anything," he'd chuckle. He was right. I've shared on WisdomWavesAura how a sense of humor and a solid night's rest can reset your soul, turning a bad day into a fresh start. And when it comes to wins and losses, he had a gem. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. I've lost plenty, but each failure taught me something. On my channel, I break down how to turn setbacks into comebacks, because every loss is a lesson in disguise. Forgiveness, he said, isn't about the other person. It's about your peace. Letting go of grudges is like dropping a heavy weight you didn't need to carry. I've shared stories on WisdomWavesAura about how forgiveness freed me, not just from others' wrongs, but from my own resentment. Life tests us, he'd say, not to expose our weaknesses, but to uncover our strengths. Those tests shaped me, and I use my platform to show others how to find their own resilience. Stay calm, he'd urge. The clearer your mind, the better your choices. I've learned that panic clouds judgment, but a steady heart cuts through the fog. On WisdomWavesAura, I share mindfulness tips to help you stay grounded when life gets chaotic. And practical skills? Grandpa was all about them. Learn to cook a few dishes, he'd say. It's cheaper than takeout and builds confidence. I've got simple recipes on my channel because feeding yourself well is a small act of self-respect. Patience, he taught me, is power. Good things take time, and rushing ruins them. I talk about this on WisdomWavesAura, showing how waiting strategically can lead to bigger wins. And letting go? That's another gem. Sometimes you have to release something good to grab something great. I've shared my own stories of letting go on my channel, inspiring others to make space for better things. Respect was non-negotiable. Never tolerate disrespect, he'd say, not even from yourself. That hit hard. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about setting boundaries and valuing your worth, because self-respect is the foundation of a good life. And listening, Grandpa said wisdom comes from silence. Talk less, hear more, he'd advise. I share this on my channel, encouraging my audience to listen deeply, to others, to themselves, to the world. Money matters too. Stick to a budget, he'd say, and I ignored him until debt taught me better. On WisdomWavesAura, I break down how to manage finances without stress, because financial freedom starts with discipline. And other people's opinions? None of your business, Grandpa would laugh. I echo that on my channel, reminding viewers to focus on their own path, not the noise around them. Kindness, he said, is a universal language. It costs nothing, but means everything. I share acts of kindness on WisdomWavesAura, showing how small gestures can ripple outward. And worrying? It's like a rocking chair, he'd say. Keeps you busy but gets you nowhere. I teach my audience to let go of worry and focus on action, because stress is a thief of joy. Life's about moving forward. Don't reread old chapters, Grandpa warned. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about closing the book on the past and writing new stories. The best views, he said, come after the hardest climbs. I've climbed my share of mountains, and I share those journeys on my channel to inspire others to keep pushing. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice saying, I'll try again tomorrow. I love sharing this on WisdomWavesAura because it reminds us all that persistence beats perfection. Humor, too, is a lifeline. Never lose your laughter, Grandpa said. It's medicine for the soul. My channel's full of lighthearted moments because joy keeps us sane. Debt's a trap, pay off those credit cards, he'd urge. I share financial tips on WisdomWavesAura to help others avoid the mistakes I made. Success, he said, is the best revenge. Live well, and let your wins speak for you. I motivate my audience to chase massive success, because nothing silences doubters like results. Giving, Grandpa taught me, fills your heart. The more you share, the more you gain. On WisdomWavesAura, I highlight the power of generosity, from donating to charity to simple acts of kindness. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. I've shared my own struggles on my channel, showing how resilience outlasts hardship. Time's the real currency, not money. Spend it wisely, he'd say. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about prioritizing what matters: relationships, growth, purpose. Life's a ship, not meant to stay in harbor. I encourage my audience to sail boldly, because playing it safe gets you nowhere. Your actions reflect you, not others. Treat people well, and you show your true character. On WisdomWavesAura, I share how to live with integrity, because who you are matters more than who you meet. Happiness isn't about having everything, It's about loving what you have. I remind my viewers to find joy in the present, not some distant future. Don't wait for perfect, Grandpa said. Take the moment and make it perfect. On WisdomWavesAura, I push my audience to act now because waiting kills dreams. Belief in yourself sets the stage for everything else. I share confidence building tips on my channel because self-doubt is the real enemy. Risks are scary but necessary. Life's too short to play it safe, he'd say. On WisdomWavesAura, I inspire viewers to step out of their comfort zones because growth lives on the edge. Responsibility, too, is key. Own your actions, he'd insist. I talk about accountability on my channel because it's the mark of a mature soul. Bad days aren't bad lives. Take a deep breath, Grandpa would say. On WisdomWavesAura, I share ways to reset after a rough day because perspective changes everything. And someday, forget it. Say now, he'd urge. I echo that on my channel, pushing viewers to act today because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Give to others. Small acts change lives. I highlight charities and causes on WisdomWavesAura, showing how little gestures make big impacts. Mistakes? They're proof you're trying. A person who doesn't mess up doesn't do anything, he'd say. I share this on my channel to encourage risk-taking over perfectionism. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. On WisdomWavesAura, I teach how to adapt to life's changes because flexibility is strength. Change is the only constant, he'd say. Embrace it and you grow. I share stories of transformation on my channel, showing how change fuels progress. Manners matter. Say please and thank you. I remind my audience on WisdomWavesAura that small courtesies open big doors. You can't rewrite the past, but you can shape the future. I talk about learning from yesterday to build a better tomorrow, because regrets are lessons in disguise. Expectations are heavy. Drop them, Grandpa said. On WisdomWavesAura, I share how to let go of unrealistic pressures and live lighter. Bad company? Avoid it. Better alone than with the wrong crowd, he'd warn. I echo this on my channel, encouraging healthy relationships over toxic ones. Chasing the wrong things keeps you from the right ones. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about focusing on growth, not distractions, because purpose attracts the right people. Stand tall, he'd say. Look the world in the eye. I share confidence tips on my channel because owning your space is power. Character shows when no one's watching. Do right always, he'd say. On WisdomWavesAura, I talk about integrity because it's the core of who you are. Don't fight every battle. Agree to disagree. I share this on my channel to promote peace over pointless arguments. The elderly have stories worth hearing. Spend time with them, Grandpa urged. On WisdomWavesAura, I share wisdom from older generations because their experiences are gold. And finally, day one or nothing, he'd say. Decide to start and don't look back. That's the spirit of WisdomWavesAura, taking that first step, writing your story and living a life that shines.